friends, welcome to the course of PHP and MySQLi CRUD tutorial. Inside this video, we will see add employee layout. If I back to browser, so far inside this course, we had done all about our project setup, created all needed files, downloaded our assets file called Bootstrap CSS and JavaScript plugin files, as well as we had created our database and a tbl_employees table. Now this time we will start on our layout creation. So inside this video we will create our first layout, that is for the add employee. So if we click on this add employee, this is our sample application. So if we click on this add employee, we can see here we have a bootstrap panel. Inside this bootstrap panel, here we have a bootstrap form. Inside this form we have input fields as name, email, phone number and designation. Also inside this panel we have two buttons called list employees and a back button. Let's create this add employee layout to our live setup. So here inside this project setup we had created a file called add-employee.php. So right now this file is empty. So what I will do, back to browser, let's open a new tab and simple type bootstrap panels. Press enter. You will get the first link as w3schools.com. So I will click on this first link of this w3schools.com. Go here inside this bootstrap panels, and this is our first try it yourself, and this is the second one. I will click on this second one. Here we have two sections. This is all about preview and this is all about for the source code. So I will select all the source code from here, right click, click on copy, back to editor, and I will paste all the code what we have copied from w3schools.com. Now here, this is all about a sample HTML. So in this HTML, we need to do changes as per our application. So this is what we have for this add employee. So let's change it to add employee. Go here inside this div container. This is all about a panel heading. So let's save these changes. Back to browser. First of all, let's open that application into browser. So instead of demo, I will type live here. Press enter. And as we know that this is the layout actually we had created for add-employee.php. So type add-employee.php. Press enter. Now we can see we have a panel heading and panel content. Let's change this layout to something like this. So what I will do, first of all, I will add a label here. Go here. Let's remove this panel heading, and instead of h2, let's change it to h3 tag. This is for add employee. Here we have a class called container. Also here we have a div. Inside this div we have the classes as panel, panel-default, panel-heading, panel-body. So these are the classes actually by default provided by bootstrap.main.css file. So I will change panel-default to panel-primary. Save these changes. Back to browser. Go and reload this setup, and as we can see that now we have updated our label as well as the look and feel of this bootstrap panel. Go back to editor, because here we have static content. Let's change it to add employee. So instead of panel heading, let's say that add employee, and in place of panel content we want a bootstrap form. So again go back to w3schools.com, and here inside this left sidebar hopefully we will see a link for bootstrap forms. So I will click on this bootstrap forms, scroll down, we can see here bootstrap vertical form. Also we'll see bootstrap inline form. I will use bootstrap horizontal form. As we can see inside this layout, This is Bootstrap vertical form. So go back again inside this documentation. Let's scroll up. So here we can see Bootstrap vertical form default. So I will copy this HTML. Let's copy that. Right click, copy, back to editor. Now in place of panel content, I will remove this static message and I am pasting this Bootstrap vertical form in place of. Let's save all these changes. Before saving, let's format one more time about this source code. Now if we save this page, back to browser, go and reload. Now as we can see that here we have add employee, but we want this label at this centered position. Next we have add employee and here we have some Bootstrap input fields. But in terms of input fields, we want name, email, phone number and designation. Back to editor. So first of all, let's say that style. And inside this style, we want text align equals to center. And one more thing, as we know that this bootstrap.main.css we had downloaded and placed inside this CSS folder. So instead of linking to a third-party URL or using this CDN link, what I will do, let's remove that and put a ./CSS folder, and now this time this CSS file is coming from our CSS folder of this project. Now in the same pattern we need to do with these two jQuery plugin files. So I will remove this CDN link, put a dot which indicates current directory. Next we need to go inside our JS folder and then here we have the file called jQuery.main.js file, and this is the plugin file actually we are retrieving from this JavaScript folder. Now in the same way we need to do with this bootstrap.main.js. So let's remove this CDN link, put a dot means current directory. After that we need to go inside our JS folder and then we need to actually fetch bootstrap.main.js file. Now next, go inside our form, and inside this form we don't want this email address, password and remember me. Instead we want name, email, phone and designation. So email address is okay, but let's remove this password and remember me. And one more thing, let's format this form tag. Let's indent. And one more thing, inside this submit button, if I go back to browser, here we have a white color background. Now we will use our bootstrap class and let's say btn space btn hyphen and let's call it as btn hyphen a success. This is a class available inside bootstrap.main.css. Now here inside this form, let's add input fields for name. So I will copy the HTML of this email address, put it here, and let's call it as in place of email address, let's say name, input type text, ID equals to name, and let's add a name attribute and which is equals to name. For this email address, let's add a name attribute and this is for email. Now if we save these changes, go back to browser, reload this page. Now we can see here we have add employee. Now we have two input fields, that is for the name field and email address. Now next we want for the phone number and designation. Let's go back to editor. I will copy this HTML of this name field, paste it here. This time we have for the phone number, so phone number, in this for attribute let's say phone, input type text is okay or we can place it as input type number, but I will put input type text, ID equals to let's say phone and the name attributes equals to phone. Now the next field we want a drop down. I will copy the HTML of this phone number. Let's put it here. And I will call it as, let's say, select designation. In place of input type text box, let's remove that. And I will use select drop down. So select name attribute equals to, let's say, designation. I will copy, put it here inside this ID. Also I will add a class attribute, and this is something, let's say, form control. This is the class available in bootstrap.main.css, and inside this select, let's add our option. So inside first option, let's say that select designation. I will copy and paste it here. Let's remove this select from here. Only designation, select designation, value will be empty. Next, inside our second option value, let's say web developer, so web hyphen developer, and inside this, let's say web space developer. I will add next option will be something called SEO. SEO, this is for search engine optimization. Next option will have called web designer, so web space designer. And also inside this for attribute, let's say designation. Now if I save all these changes, go back to browser, reload this page, now we can see that here we have a form, name field, email address, phone number and designation. Inside this drop down we can see we have all the available values. Now one more thing, let's add placeholder for each input field. So for placeholder we have the attribute, that is placeholder, and here let's put it as enter name, put it 3 dots, or let's remove dot from here, only enter name. Go back to email address, let's say placeholder, enter email. Go back inside phone number, let's say placeholder, enter phone. Now if we save, back to browser, go and reload, now we can see that we have a bootstrap panel of add employee. Inside this panel we have a bootstrap form. We have input fields called name, email address, phone number and designation. Now we want two buttons, let's say list employees and a back button right here at this right corner. So what I will do, go here inside this panel heading. Right now we have a message that is add employee. Now here we want two buttons, so buttons, or instead of using button, let's use anchor tag. Right now inside this href put a hash symbol, and this is, let's say, list employees. Another anchor tag, this is for back button, put a hash symbol. It indicates that right now the link of these buttons is empty. Now if you save and go here, reload this page, we are not getting our output right here. So what I will do, let's add some bootstrap classes. Let's say class equals to, I will add btn success, and we want to pull our buttons at the right top corner, so pull hyphen right. These are bootstrap classes. So I will copy this class attribute, put it here right here inside this back button, save all these changes, go and reload. Now we can see that here we have a back button and list employees. But these two buttons, we need to change the position. So what I will do, let's cut back button from here, put it here, and we want something margin top. Let's inspect here. This is our first button for the list employees. Let's say margin top equals to -7 pixel, and I think it seems good. So I will copy this CSS, go back to editor, and let's add a style attribute. and it will be margin top equals to -7 pixel. Let's copy this style attribute and put it here inside this list employees. If we save these changes, go back to browser, let's reload, and now we can see here we have a list employees and back button. Also we want some space between these two buttons. So as simple as that, let's add NB space. Let's add one more time. This is for space. Or it is not working, so what I will do, let's add margin left equals to 5 pixel. This is the CSS property I have added inside this back button. Save this, go and reload. Now we can see that we have a space between these two buttons. Right now, when we click on the submit button, this form is not going to submit anywhere. Also, when we click on this button, these buttons will not work. All about the functionality of this form as well as the functions of these buttons we will see in our coming videos. Right now inside this form we have a sample action attribute value. Let's put a hash here. So this is the form, we are not submitting anywhere. Also inside these buttons we have a void linking. So in our coming videos we will see all about these functionality points. But for now we have created our add employee layout. In the next video we will see some more different concept of this course. So for this video session guys, thank you for watching and have a great day.